Was I really behind the times? Marco shrugged with mild disappointment. The wind circulating within the dome was a bit strong. No matter their scale, most investment funds entrust their handling and settlement to all their stock and securities transactions to a single bank. Sometimes stock transactions were done in the same markets as the odd investors. More than anything, it involved huge numbers and quantities, so it wasn't realistic to do it all by oneself. Also, for large-scale purchases or transactions, they must be kept as anonymous as possible. It was more convenient to have them handled by brokers or investment banks who were familiar with the situation. That was why every fund had account managers they'd been doing business with for a long time. It was a partner you could contact easily when you needed basic information on the evolution of a market or product you were investing in. Let's plug my headset back in. I, however, had a perfect person to investigate on ABS. Hey, I'm sorry for the wait. We used to put a roast chicken on the table. I asked her if it was alright to meet at church. She replied we had turkey at Christmas and things like that. I wasn't really sure if they answered my question. Nonetheless, various delicacies were lined up on the table, starting with roast chicken. Oh, what's the matter? Is there something you can't eat, or do you want to change clothes at all? I don't think I have anything in your size. As Lisa jumped up from a chair, Chris finally started to speak. Ahem. I just worked to come here because you told me you want to talk business. Adorable, adorable Chris. When she said that, I stopped carving with chicken, but Marco was already biting into one of her legs. Lisa sat back in a chair and poured some wine into Chris's glass. I don't really like the taste of alcohol. It's grape juice. What? No, it's alcohol, but we have soda. Held a soda bottle out vigorously, and Lisa playfully stuck her tongue out, shrugging her shoulders. I'm here to talk business, you know. That's why I also brought Marco. Please explain. Her eyes seemed to be welling up, with tears behind her glasses, but Lisa smiled, not caring. This is the first time we've been here in ages, Chris. It's been, what, a year? I don't think it's been that long. She spoke in a quiet voice, but it seemed suspicious somehow. I sipped on my soup and passed around a salad. What kind of business did you want to talk about? I was told out of the blue that Chris would come tonight. Lisa took control of the conversation like an older sister. Apparently she was venting her anger at Chris for not visiting the church enough. It's something I'm interested in buying, and when I contacted Chris's workplace in order to obtain more information about the project, I was told a manager of the project would explain directly. And who is this manager? As Lisa looked at her, Chris, who came to a rendezvous point with star salesman and briefcase on the EJ Rockberg Bank, gave me a sharp look. You're really mean, Hal. What do you think about salesman? We don't need him. She said a lot of pretty sounding stuff. But you said you wanted to talk to me alone. What will you do if he misinterprets that? Oh, did Hal say that? I just said I was an old friend and I had a lot of wanting to talk to her about. You know, Chris, if you have still have feelings for him, I can help. Chris's face grew so red her glasses fogged up. Her clenched fist was trembling. Am I in the way? Marcus said was obviously feeling left out of the conversation. Lisa shrugged and waved a fork at me. Enough jokes. I want to talk about the church because I didn't want you to hit me with sales talk. You won't lie here, right? Chris's expression became stiffer at my words. I may well have hurt her, but you could have survived in this world of finance if you're too sensitive. I'm not lying. If that's the case, you don't need a salesman with you. If you want to talk, it doesn't matter where, right? Ah. Chris moaned and sighed, letting her head drop in defeat. What I want to know is the way that ABS works. You can convince me our fund will actually consider investing in it. And your order? She wanted to know the scale of our order. She seemed ready to say I'm out. It was a negligible sum. Chris spoke reproachfully, with a bitter look at her face, as though it was her only means of retaliation. Marco, how far can we go? Right, if there's high-rank claims we're talking about, I guess we're probably about 5 million. If it works out, we could probably go up to 10 or more, but to be honest, we still have a lot left in our budget. Risa looked astounded at the sums of money involved. When I first tumbled into Risa's place, our whole world almost fell to pieces over a mere 30,000. As Chris sighed quietly, I decided to put some food in my plate and start eating. Can we talk later? And she added, it's been a very long time since I last ate a proper meal. I spoke volumes about what our daily life was like. Risa poured a glass of soda in place of wine and placed it in front of Chris and started serving her food. Mark and I resumed our meal, and we had a pleasant, albeit quiet, time. After we finished eating, we gathered in Chris's old room. Though some things had changed, it still had the same kind of furnishings. Where Risa wasn't with us, partly because she wanted to understand the discussions, but also because she wanted to stay on money-related matters as much as possible. When Chris came in after going to take some things from the storage, she still looked somewhat displeased. And to think that in the past, our roles were reversed. Gee, stop saying stuff like that. Perhaps behaving in a relatively more adult way at work had given us some self-conscious. My bad. Just wanted to get even you for taking me down a peg at Club 25. Liar. As Chris said that, she had a rather wall-mounted display that she just retrieved from storage and plugged it into a laptop. Chris then started to use it right in arithmetic formulas on par with Hagana's, perhaps at even a higher level. Is a product so complex you need always formulas? When I asked this with a slight hesitation, Chris laughed as if I was finally regained her favour. I'm just taking precautions. I figure since Mark was here, I'm going to be questioned within an inch of my life. I'm not as insistent as Hal. I can't trust either of you. Mark had made a displeased face and glared at me for some reason. Hey, I heard ABS was good for those who made it. Those who buy it, and for basically everyone and their dog. My words, Chris frowned just a little, and replied, well, I do happen to agree, you know. I'm not criticising you, but from the way you're speaking it means you all investigated it yourself, right? Obviously. But I'd be lying if I said I investigated myself. Miss say she did. When Marco answered for me, Chris looked particularly displeased. Her shoulders sagged. In that case, wasn't any need to call me, was there? There was, but things I don't understand. Chris sat down at a desk near a projector and asked, what did you not understand? First of all, in what way do I differ from old-fashioned securities? I would have understood the part about the trans structure. People who go to the front lines in the face of huge projectiles are rewarded accordingly, whereas those who stay inside aren't rewarded, but he's certain they won't get a bullet in them. That's the gist of it, right? Yep. The problem is, if that can be fixed with just a slight alteration of structure, someone else could have done it ages ago. My words, Chris smiled smugly. That's thanks to the progress of maths. Trying to puff to an expectantly developed chest. How? Emphasising it even more and started writing some kind of numeric formula on the projector. Can't really tell how developed it is, but... Securitization, in other words, gathering up some loans and bonds and dividing them to sell them, is the first example of risk reduction. I can understand why. The probability of every loan ending bankruptcy is low. This is merely something that followed a rule of thumb as much as possible. As such, nobody had any idea how much risk it actually represents. Is it like options before the Black-Scholes formula was created? The what? An equation developed by Black and Scholes. Actually, there's another contributor model named Merton. The economic equation determines the current option of stock prices. Predicts the right price range of future stocks. Okay. An option was a financial derivative that allowed one to make huge bets on the future rise and fall of stock prices by paying a deposit. As a matter of course, the present value of an option, whose worth changed depending on the future stock prices, was determined by those future stock prices. Because of that, however, there was a rather baffling issue of how anyone could discern the present worth and there was no way of knowing their future value. For that reason, the pricing options had long relied on intuition. The people who managed to express that in a mathematical way had received a Nobel Prize. That's exactly the technique called a Gaussian cupola. We can get Laurie's green tips, aren't we? A copula is a part of speech which links words. Okay. A copul what? Copula. Can you pronounce that? She was chuckling. It's a mathematical tool that allows you to say, predict how many fruits inside a box are full of apples, oranges, or bananas, depending on temperature. We're talking about the stock market if frequent. We would like things like how a fluctuation of interest rate in some country on Earth would affect the value of its currency, how many defensive stocks people would wish to buy. Depending on the fluctuation of the price of oil, its influence in economic perspectives, or whatever. In comparison, apples and oranges and bananas can be kept for different lengths of times. Bananas might go rotten quickly, but it's not the case with apples. However, we can immediately see that the higher a conservation temperature is, the faster the fruits become rotten. Having rotten bananas doesn't automatically mean the apples are rotten. Since both fruit, if they are rotten bananas, the likelihood of apples being rotten increases. In particular, it's obvious that we leave them in the heat of the months, but all rot. We wouldn't really understand the correlations between them. In addition, if we do not know the fruit rots faster in higher temperatures, we don't know to what degree this is the case. Indeed. Same goes for loans. Mr. A and Mr. B are different as an apple and a banana. If Mr. A goes to bankrupt, but that in itself does not have anything to do with Mr. B. Furthermore, there's no correlation between Mr. A and A's mortgage and Mr. B's car loan and Mr. C's credit card loan. It's like a correlation is one of a few ways that the risk of simultaneous bankruptcies can be eliminated. However, just as with fruit, when conditions become extremely bad, the probability of everyone going bankrupt increases, and this true risk is unpredictable, or at least it used to be. But with a lot of statistical data, it's possible to determine fairly precisely the proportion of loans that will end up at bankruptcy. By combining the different phenomena and their respective probability of occurrence between these loans and thinking of extreme scenarios, the copula becomes a mathematical answer as to how they all start to relate to each other. That's because it's a mathematical model with a clear definition, rather than a dubious intuition. Using this, a product we have developed calculates the expected probability of a generalised bankruptcy and eliminates as many risks as possible. The failure rate of our product is about... I should load ahead slightly. A very odd statement in an English tone. I wasn't quite sure if he understood what it meant. Even though she was smiling, her eyes felt somewhat cold. About once in a million years, if all. Well, that's a confident smile. The same look she had in her eyes 4 years ago, when she became engrossed in mathematical programs. It weren't the eyes of a frail girl, but someone who had obtained power that could be used in the real world. The intuition of self-proclaimed experts had been eradicated. Since this product relies on a mathematical tool that everyone can verify, it can obtain authorizations from related organisations. The senior claims that abide by mathematical tools have gotten into the highest possibility ranking, AAA. The mezzanine claims are slightly inferior to them, but they're still ranked at the same level of government bonds of developed countries. All risks are crammed into the junior claims. ABS is only similar to old-fashioned bonds in appearance. Now that ABS exists, the future risks are all domesticated dogs wearing the collar of mathematics. Before I knew it, Chris was the kind of girl who would look at you yapping, became the one making others bark. The risk of the stock market can be quickly eliminated with similar mathematical methods. The value at risk is one of the main ones. Using your gold criteria, but almost no stocks are being invested anymore, am I right? Even if there didn't seem to be any ill in her words, they still pierced my heart deeper than they should have. If nothing else, I managed to not let it show in my face. Indeed, I'm surrounded by legendary investors, not a single one of them feels a shred of fear of failure. Since the opening of the orbital elevator, Emerald Industries have been relying on maths to avoid any kind of accidents before they happen. As our mathematical tools can even predict meteorites and unforeseen failure of the elevator's components, are protected from current investments. That's why, at least in my eyes, those who don't know about these tools are taking tremendous risks. Changing the old investment tools, progress marches on. The last words might have been Chris trying to cheer me up. Even though I've been knocked down from the verge of collapsing, I still managed to give a firm shrug and speak. Can I ask you one more thing? What is it? It's about speed. She briefly tilted her head bewildered and nodded with sure. You're talking about the fund's turnover, right? Yeah. 2 or 3 billion more is being moved around every month. To be honest, I thought that was amazing. However, after hearing about it, it just feels like they're putting together loans, turning into bonds they sell, and combining more loans with the money they earn. Hard to believe we could just move around this much money in just a month by doing that. Your paperwork isn't even up to date, right? Indeed. Which is why we created a system called a rocket scheme. She started drawing a diagram smoothly under the projector. To be honest, the main reason we were introduced to the market by big institutional investors was thanks to that rather than to ABS. I see. The whole progress of gathering loans, selling them to bonds and selling them to investors, and to use the money to gather more loans is tedious and dull. In addition to that, rival banks and vulture-like investing banks have started selling ABS imitations. In that situation, a loss of time is fatal. Therefore, we've come in from the start with more than one system we can exploit this quickly to its maximum. The other system is a special investment company we call a SIV. Chris traced a line going down from our main part represented DJ Rockberg and wrote SIV. We've made that SIV issue some CP. Some CP? CP was sought for commercial paper. It was a bond issued by businesses and bought by investors. Since its repayment period was very short, it was more inflexible than corporate bonds. Many people bought it, so it was often used to raise funds. Basically some sort of promissory note, where businesses used to borrow money for a short period of time. Yep, at any rate, since this SIV legally can't have any connections with banks in terms of capital, it can't get funds from banks, so therefore it uses CP to collect funds. This explanation was starting to sound fishy, but Chris was still explaining very happily, and even quite proudly. I then use the money from CP sold by SIV, we bundle up loans with EJ Rockberg and buy them. After that, the time-consuming constitution of ABS is done by the SIV, EJ Rockberg can immediately switch to the next investment. In any case, since the SIV is a business completely unrelated to banks, banks can avoid BIS banking regulations by regarding the loans sold as to the SIV. Oh, I see, so that's what it's about. Because the BIS banking regs only apply to banks and consolidated subsidiaries, right? Exactly. For that reason, there are some people who call this system a shadow banking system. So basically, it's a system behind the scenes where banks usually prefer using money to splash around with investors, rather than relying on safety clients' deposit accounts, managed by international regulations. Because of that, we made SIV for the sole purpose of gathering money from CP, buying loans from banks, which allows banks to set up loan after loan. Is that it? You can associate it with rich investors. The speed at which you can gather deposits from commoners isn't just can't compare. Indeed. I also thought that since they weren't absolutely certain that ABS would sell well, they wouldn't need to wait for it to sell. Also, it's theoretically possible for that scheme to make ABS on loans bought from banks at the same speed as the flow of capital coming from investors. For that reason, having lots of SIV underneath banks and using a CP from investors as fuel, she added lots of SIV in a diagram, turning it into what looked like kindergarten drawing a rocket. In reality, Chris had illustrated a story about investment schemes involving gigantic sums of money like a kindergarten doing a first crane drawing. And I've called it a rocket scheme because of the actual appearance of its diagram. By the way, we're actually outsourcing constitutional loans and buying them directly from agents. Which means we're almost operating at a theoretical maximum speed. It's a splendid investment engine. But there's some financial engineering there. You know, I used to think financial engineering referred to finance-relating maths. But apparently it's used to refer to dynamic things like this. Then, on the bottom line, is ABS actually some hollow product without any basis? Correct. It may seem that way, but it's just because it's so perfect. Even I find it a bit odd. However, it's not kind of a bet of interest swap you can make just by exchanging fixed interest rates by floating rates, nor is something uncertain as betting money on next year's weather. It says what kind of loans it makes from the rights to the spec document I've given you. It's only bulky because it includes all kinds of clauses related to these loans. Did you read them? I've taken a quick look at it myself after going to Safety's office. It is indeed that every possible kind of loan, stating from mortgages, including credit card loans, student loans and car loans. I did, but just didn't really get the whole thing regarding ratios. Which ratios? The proportion of apples and bananas. Fundamentally, the main kind of loan is mortgages. No matter what kind of business term of scale, there's already been a struggle for loans to make bonds out of. Whereas mortgages become hard to get. Huh. I nodded before asking one more question. On the lunar surface, you mean? Expression suddenly hardened. To survive in a place full of people with guards and major banks, it's essential not to show any weakness. That's probably where she picked up that facial expression. Do you believe we're hindering your group's project? I tell you one of the causes of a steep price rise of real estate. That's wrong. You're mistaking the cause for a consequence. Chris and I glared at each other for a moment. I finally broke eye contact first. Sorry, my joke has bad taste. In any case, I see if we could take 100,000 houses with an average of 500,000 malls. We've already reached 50 billion malls after all. Independent survey estimates the potential amount of mortgages on lunar surface to be about 1.8 trillion. It's nearly infinite amount of resources, isn't it? I raised my hands as if surrendering to Chris's satisfied smile. This is a beautiful figure of finance. Since the dawn of history, banks have made a living forward, giving funds to those who needed them. A process now reached its apex right here. Performance dawned by a perfect method, adorned in splendid mathematics, was being sprinkled on borrowers in the form of loans. I remember Chris going with me to a realtor in Clapton Square. At the time, everyone went into debt to buy a house. It was that refinement of extreme. It definitely couldn't compare the image of E.J. Rockberg blasting off and using CP made from SIV and other things as fuel. I know her questions, but I couldn't bear just to close my mouth, so I asked her. By the way, what's the loss rate of Judy claims which are the riskiest ones? Chris's eyes were smiling behind the glasses. Approximately 0. Approximately? But only 0 is up to a third digit of a decimal point. That's definitely 0 then. No risks, the holy grail, alchemy. Apparently, just the thought of it made my brain want to spit out insults. In that case, isn't insurance too expensive? I heard it costs about 3% of a claim. The information is outdated. It's no longer sold at that price. It used to be the initial asking price though. How much is it now? Let me think. The market price of Junior's claim insurance today? A market price? Am I being traded? Yes. For people who don't use accounting magic, that insurance is an annoying waste of money. Since it's not like the claims will go bankrupt anyway, also many people who say the insurance is useless. Besides, we also need to know that insurance is evaluated on the market. Honestly, investors are making a profit on a margin between respective interest rates of ABS and its insurance. The cheaper your insurance is, the more we can establish a lead over other companies. With that, Chris interpreted himself before switching to numbers. I just remembered it's 0.8. In short, it means that the contract period of insurance is roughly a year, and the odds of a claim defaulting by then are around 0.8%. Much cheaper for safer medicine than stealing claims. It's basically free of charge. The failure rate was, in practice, 0s up to a third digit, decimal point. That was definitely overcharging. And then, the lower the insurance money you got, the bigger the difference of a bond's interest payment, which in turn meant more profits could be made. When Mark and I turned to each other, Chris further drove a point home. For as I expected, the Judy claims haven't sold out. Oh, is that so? Alright, purchases are regulated for buyers. Exactly. Since we've intrinsically crammed as much of the risk as possible into junior claims, they're rated BBB, so only level over junk bonds. The number of people who are buying them has decreased quite a bit. What are you going to do about that, since the amounts are huge? There must be quite like unsold products, right? The waste must definitely be holding up. However, upon seeing Chris's delighted expression, I shivered without knowing why. Her demeanour made her look as though she could find the answer to any question. It seemed to possess some kind of beauty. Since it's you, I will tell you. How frightening. Already selling our products to good customers like pension funds and foundations. In truth, people like that who drove away to promote their own product. The cutting edge of financial products by the E.J. Rockberg Bank, which has probably become the greatest financial machine in human history. Hardly a world where a donkey could only pound the stock market. Chris was smiling complacently, her eyes hidden behind the glasses that had light cast on her glasses. These leftover bonds have been gathered there and reprocessed thanks to the magic of a Gaussian coupler. What do you think happened next? Weiss's words crossed my mind. The bonds which are overall risky, along with tremendously dangerous bonds, have been divided by bonds with no risk at all. Alchemy. We call them collateral debt obligations. CDOs have been classified into the same hierarchy as ABS, senior, mezzanine and junior. While obviously the interest rates of bonds used to make them good, they're a whole lot better interest rates than ABS. They're selling like hotcakes. And since it's recycling waste products, it also solves the issue of scarcity of loans on the market. There's basically no need to gather up new loans. And of course, we're also developing a simulation where, if we had to leftover CDO. We'll gather and reorganise them. Central name is synthetic CDO for now. What should these bundles leftover be called? Person thinks CDO squared. It's a pretty good name. The old projector made an electronic chirping sound and illuminated a picture of a lunar rocket. Chris had been talking loudly, spoke over a giggle, as if she was trying to suppress her laughter. With that said, how much will we be purchasing?